Takes.
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Two Takes. I'm Chad Reidlinger.
And I'm Howard Vernick.
Back again to talk everything real estate and mortgage. So first, we got Michael Bloomberg's crazy idea to merge Fannie and Freddie. So there was an article here stating that he was proposing taking both companies, putting them together, whereas this is like a 180-degree difference from what Trump is proposing, releasing them from conservatorship.
Whatever.
Did I say that?
We're close.
And releasing them back into the wild, so to speak.
Right.
So Howard, what's your take on Mr. Bloomberg's idea here?
Well, he wants to kind of tighten up the whole financial services, the protection that the government puts on the consumers. And part of that would be to merge Fannie and Freddie. Is it a good idea? I don't know. I think that they shouldn't stay as government, under the government themselves. I think they really should be put out into the regular economy, and that way it allows for more flexibility in what is available out there.
Well, I think a lot of the other companies that the government got involved in and helped out, they haven't tried to take them over, and they kind of propped them up artificially until they got back on their feet. Whereas now, look, Fannie and Freddie are doing really, really well, and I think it's hard for them to let go of that money. But on the flip side, for the consumer, I just think competition's good. And I think that if you put Fannie and Freddie together, I think that you lose them competing with each other for their share of the business. And I think at the end of the day, the consumer gets hurt there.
There's a balance, because if there is one entity and depends on who's running it and makes the rules as flexible as possible for the consumer, they win.
Right.
But I agree with you that if there's one entity and you got Attila the Hun at the top of it, then you're in trouble. Nobody's getting loans.
There's no motivation for anybody to try to one-up the other. They're just going to be like, hey, well, we're going to get the business anyway, so...
Right. I think privatizing this whole arena is better for the consumer. I think it brings more players in and creates all that competition.
Right. Competition's good. What do we got for the next topic?
So we have people now, a lot of the millennials, who can't afford to buy a house. So they're deciding to buy houses together. So two friends get together, they buy a house together, and now they can afford it. And it's better for them because instead of paying rent, they can at least pay down some principal, and it's a forced savings. And as going forward, they just build equity in that property. The downside is what happens when there's problems.
When the inevitable happens. Right. So I think, look, anytime you go do anything in a partnership, right, whether it's marriage, whether it's business, whether it's, anything, it's difficult, right? It's hard and really, it's hard to really identify all the pitfalls before you go into it. But what I did like about this article from Realtor.com is that it actually gave some new ideas for us in the mortgage business that we might not always suggest. I mean, I can tell you from me personally, I never suggested, hey, go buy a house with a friend. And so I kind of feel like this at least give them the idea that, hey, you don't have to purchase the home on your own, because I think a lot of people think they got to get help from mom or dad or whatever. But there's other options that, to your point, if they buy a house together, they do both get the benefits of owning, and they could, it's half as much money from each person out of pocket. And in this article, there was actually 3 people that purchased together.
Yeah, but then I go back to, what happens when somebody wants to move? What happens when somebody needs to move?
Right.
What happens when somebody can't afford even their half of the house payments? What happens when one person wants to dispose of the house and the other one doesn't?
I can tell you what happens. A cluster is what happens at that point.
And even though you could put all of this into agreements, it's hard to think of everything.
Yeah.
If you just look at a mortgage document, how many pages is it?
I don't know. I've never read it.
5-6 pages. And all those pages came together because bad things happen, and now they're covering themselves.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely that you're going to get everybody who's ready to move out of the house at the same time and be able to dispose of that property. So it's a challenge.
Trouble.
All right, now we got 4 questions that first-time homebuyers are asking themselves. So I'm going to run through these 4 questions real quick, and then we can talk about them. For question number 1, what's more affordable, renting or buying? Question number 2, what's my home purchase range? Question number 3, what kinds of credit scores do I need? And question number 4, what are my mortgage options? So, we thought that this was a good article to bring up because these are good questions for us to discuss, but at the same time, these are the main 4 questions that keep coming up. So I think it's really important that we as educators in the mortgage space talk about these freely out there on social media and email marketing and all those different things. But what's your thoughts on the questions above? You think they got it right?
Well, I hear these questions all the time. And whenever buyers come up, these are one form or another, these are the questions that they ask us.
Right.
And everybody's situation is going to be a little different. So you really have to analyze situation by situation, whether renting is better or buying is better. Often, if you look at the very short term, staying a renter is financially better than buying a property unless prices are increasing like crazy. Long term, I've found that in most situations, buying is better because you get to take care, you get the equity, and part of that money that you put away every month is yours.
It's the forced savings, and I think it's important for us to have that transparent, honest conversation about renting versus buying. And I know we provide a great tool to our loan officers, which is MBS Highway, that allows them to put that all together and shows like, hey, in the short term, you're going to be at a loss, with maybe with buying because of the down payment, different things. But in the long term, like you said, you're better off purchasing. And I think too, like, what's my purchase range? A lot of times we talk about this, and this was a topic of conversation when I used to teach classes to the realtors of, that purchase range can really change depending on how you're pre-qualifying people.
Well, I look at it 3 ways. One is, what can you qualify for? And when I say that, it's what's the highest payment that you can qualify for. The second question is, in my budget, what do I feel like I can afford? Because even though I qualify for X, if I can only feel like I can afford Y, that's my budget.
That's actually more important, in my opinion.
And then the last question is, what do you want to pay? You don't want to live
as little as possible, Howard.
You want to,
That's usually the answer.
You don't want to live for your house. You want to live in your house. So those 3 questions will get you to a payment where you want to be, and then we can always back that payment into approximately how much the purchase price is and how much you can borrow.
And for all the things that people say that they want to knock millennials, I feel like they do a really good job of actually, of spending the majority of their money or the lion's share of their money on experiences versus things. And I think that they're kind of getting away from that. So. And what's our last topic of the day?
Okay, our last topic talks about that data is great, but housing professionals need to look a step further. So the way the world is working right now, everybody wants to work on an app, put numbers in or give information and get information back out. Then once you're purchasing something, you want to see the process.
Right.
So it's like the pizza delivery.
Love it.
The pizza's on its way, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. But the final piece that I think a lot of people miss out on is that when there's a problem, they want to be able to call somebody and then pick up the phone.
Yep, and that's and that's what this article talked about, and I could not agree more. Like, it's so frustrating when something goes wrong and you can't reach somebody. And I won't use services just because of that. Like, and I know that I'm going to need tech support at some point. Like, even when we were looking at like email marketing and we were looking at MailChimp and there was no customer service number, I'm like, there's no way in hell I can use that system because I know I'm going to be the person that I want a live person when I have a problem. I don't want to, sometimes it's cool to have a chat, option, but you got to be able to talk to people.
The stat that I saw that I thought was incredible is that Google near me searches have moved up 900% in the last 2 years. 900%.
I think I'm responsible for a lot of that.
It's just for food for me.
Me
I
too.
always need to know where the food is.
Yeah, steakhouse near me. It's like, all right, Chad, enough. And I think another cool thing that I talked about in the article, though, was that the timeliness that people are expecting responses, and we know in the industry of like how fast you have to return calls.
Right.
That works for both the realtor, the referral partners, as well as our customers. But what I like that I pointed out, which we have done, is loan officers should consider setting up, whether it's maybe a call agency or a receptionist service, something that they can at least talk to a live person when they call, take that message, and let them know that you'll call them right back, because at least them knowing that they talked to a live person, it gives them the ability to then get back to them. Because the article said, like, a lot of times customers, if they won't even wait an hour. If you don't call them back within an hour, they're on to the next loan officer.
Right. No, when they want you, and you got to be there or have somebody there for them.
I think that's the thing, right? Just find out ways to bridge that gap. And not lose that customer, and just give that personal attention to them that they need, even if it's not you doing it directly.
And I don't think this is a millennial issue. I think this is a people issue.
Absolutely.
No matter how old we are.
We're always the issue.
We're always the issue.
Well, guys, I hope you found today's information interesting. If you have anything that you'd like us to discuss on the show, please let us know in the comments below. And until next time, I'm Chad Reidlinger.
And I'm Howard Vernick. 900% in 2 years. Think about that.
Staking or me.
Think about it. Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.